Hey guys, hope you're doing well today. This is Coach Taylor coming back to you. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about FRQs and kind of how they work in the scale of AP Human Geography. Just as a side note, there's nothing to be scary about FRQs. They're actually really simple if you follow the tips and tricks that we're going to outline together for you, and if you know how to break one down. So we're going to start the process of learning how to do FRQs. As you do them more often, you will get better and better. I promise you will. But just to kind of give you a rundown of FRQs for the exam, you'll have 3 FRQs. You'll have 75 minutes to complete all 3 FRQs. Now, 75 minutes might not seem like a lot of time, but it actually is a pretty good amount of time. It's a good chunk of change to complete all FRQs. Some FRQs go a little bit faster than others, and that's totally fine. But your first FRQ will have 2 stimulus, and what that means is that your FRQ will have like 2 charts, maps, graphs, pictures, you name it. So it's going to have 2 stimulus, 2 things for you to visually look at on your FRQ. Your second FRQ will have 1 stimulus, so it might just have like one of those, like a chart, a map, a graph, a photo, something of that nature. The photos are in color, or not in color, in black and white, excuse me. So they tend to not do very elaborate photos that require a lot of grayscaling on the photos. So most of the time you're going to be looking at a map or a chart. And then lastly, our third FRQ has no stimulus. And this is kind of the normal traditional formatting that we tend to see where they have no stimulus. Each question will have 7 parts, A through G. We strongly suggest you skip a line between each section, and each part is worth exactly 1 point. It is only graded on content. We don't really grade on grammar. We don't grade on spelling. We strongly encourage you to write in complete sentences. Do not write in bullet points. At the AP reading where we go and score these exams, we will not score bullet points. Those are definitely not allowed. You can answer some of these questions in like a sentence or 2 or less, and you should be perfectly fine. The command terms, as we kind of call them, are up here, where it says like identify, define, explain, describe, and compare. So like identify is just tell me what it is. So, you know, it might be something as simple as identify the country listed in the map, or identify some type of value on the chart, like what region of the world has the highest infant mortality rate, or something like that based on the map you've been given. So you just say, you know, the IMR is high in West Africa. That's it. You move on. You're on to part B, because most of the time, like part A is the easy question, and then part G is kind of the thought-provoking, what I call the more challenging question. A is just get some money on, you know, get some points on the board, and then part G is really where you're going to make some more money, or make some more points, I should say. Define. So they might ask you to define the concept of time-space compression. So they might ask you what the definition is of that and how it relates to the prompt. When you do that, you're really just kind of going through the motions of identifying, you know, what it is. Explain the how and the why. Use those good transition words. The ACE strategy is answer the question, cite specific evidence, and explain it. Okay, so that's kind of using that strategy. We're going to use that again a little bit more on Wednesday. Describe, give some details, provide some relevant characteristics or attributes. And then lastly is compare, identify similarities and differences. The more similarities and differences you can find, the better. Try to maintain a balance of a ratio of like plus or minus 1 similarity or difference, give or take. So like for example, you shouldn't have 1 similarity and 4 differences. You should try to find 3 similarities and 2 differences, or you know, that kind of a good mix. There should be within plus or minus 1 of a range of those similarities and differences. But don't just give 7 similarities and 1 difference, or vice versa. You know, try to find some balance there. This is using Disney princesses. I figure this is probably the most relative way you can remember these things. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with Disney princesses, I'm sorry. I live in Disney princess land at my house. That's what happens when you have 2 girls. So like, here's a question. Identify 2 Disney princesses. Okay, so like for example, Ariel and Elsa. That's all you need. You're good. describe the common characteristics of Disney princesses. Okay, so you kind of see the example here as it progresses. I explain why Disney princesses are commonly shown in pastel colors. Wow, that's a little bit too much psychology for me there, but kind of have fun at it. Compare two Disney princesses. So you see the comparisons here. Okay. Their similarities. Okay, they're both in leadership positions. They're both set to become queen. They both leave their kingdoms. All right, water is the central aspect. Okay, so they have like 3 similarities here. And here's where they jump into some differences. The geography is different of the places. Parents are still alive. So they had a 3-to-2 ratio here. So they had 3 similarities and 2 differences. Perfect. That's exactly what we want to see. Okay, that's exactly what we want to see. All right. And when we do an FRQ, like for the first time ever, I'm not going to make a geographic one. I mean, we'll do something fun. I mean, we'll probably end up doing something like this Disney one, really. Just something that everyone can kind of familiarize themselves with, fairly easily. Okay? All right, so let's kind of continue to break down the prompt. And there is a copy of this on Canvas. It's called FRQ Breakdown. So I would really strongly suggest, printing off a copy of this and like putting it in a notebook somewhere, or saving it to a place where you can reference it, because, guys, I've been teaching this class for 7 years. I've been scoring the AP exam for 5, and this is really good. This is like the best one-pager I've seen on an FRQ. So, take it from me. This is really good quality, and of course the colors help as well. So, kind of breaking down the prompt a little bit here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Oh, can't do that. I'm just going to keep it right there then. All right, so think about it this way. The verbs, the command verbs, okay? These command verbs are the ones up here, right? These are the verbs. What is the verb asking you to do, okay? Identify key terms and phrases as well in your essay, okay, in your prompt, okay? If they're asking you to look for infant mortality rate, don't talk about child mortality rate, okay? You've really got to pay attention to those key terminologies, okay? Those key words and phrases. Don't just throw a bunch of vocab terms at a reader and expect them to know what you're saying, okay? You have to treat us as the reader as if, we're less intelligent, okay? And what I mean by that is that you really need to explain it for us and not make us subtly answer the question for you in our minds by saying, well, are they really hitting that or are they not? You need to lay it out. The best way I can ever think of this is to give you the example of, okay, imagine you have an older relative, all right, or your parents even, okay, and they just bought a new iPhone or a new Android or a new Samsung, or insert cool cell phone of the day here, okay, and they have no clue how to use it, none, zip, zero, nada. But you're, being a very in with the times teenager, can explain it and show them how to use it. You have to lay it in very simple terms and very complete sentences in very explanatory ways to say, here's this button, here's what you do, this button does this, don't do that. You really need to lay it out in really clean, simple terminology, okay? So that's what you need to do for us as the readers, is lay it out, okay? I would rather read a couple pages of an essay question that just lays it out so well that I could have answered the question a couple lines back, but it reads really nice, okay? Guys, and I'll tell you this too, the big question I get on the FRQs is, well, how long should it be? Well, the question should be always is that answer the question, okay? Make sure you answer every question is about how long it should be. Guys, I've read essays that are perfect scores that are about half a page, and I've read zeros that are 2 pages long. Okay, we call those well-crafted zeros or Greek vases because they look pretty on the outside, but they're ugly on the inside. There's nothing, okay? So my best piece of advice is answer the question to the best of your ability and make sure you have addressed all of the key terms, the verbs, and what we call the ESPN, the economic, social, political, environmental aspects, if they apply based on the question, okay? You might not have environmental for, say, an infant mortality rate question or a political angle for infant mortality rate. You might not. You might, but you might not, and that's okay. But make sure you answer the question to the best of your ability. All right. So what we're going to do here is this: is that on Wednesday we're going to come together. I'm going to throw an FRQ up on the screen, and we're going to write it together in class. I'm going to set a little timer, and I'm going to have you write the prompt in class. And then we will go over it. I will throw the rubric around, and we will discuss it, and we will go through it, so you guys are fully aware of kind of how it is. And for our first FRQ, we'll do like a practice FRQ, where we'll do something fun and kind of, Disney princessy, where it's something that everyone can kind of, understand. And then the next go around, we'll do a geography one. So we'll kind of pace it out a little bit to where we kind of practice for those things too. Okay, but really the best way I can think of this is that answer the question to the best of your ability using the ACE strategy, which is A, answer, C, cite, E, explain. Okay, so you answer the question, you cite specific evidence and examples, and then you explain it. Okay, you go into detail. All right, that's the important thing here. All right, so my best piece of advice with this is take your time. You're not in a rush. Okay, pace yourself. Remember, the AP exam is not a 100-yard dash. It is a marathon. Okay, and take your time, and everything will be okay. A lot of kids tend to kind of seize up at FRQs, and that's normal. But then, a couple weeks after writing FRQs, you get used to it, and you can start spitting these things out. And sometimes you guys even think about ways to answer questions that I never thought about as a reader as well. And hey, I'm like, hey, I want to give you points for those too. Additionally, if you ever want to go see what an FRQ looks like, the College Board has put on all the FRQs on their College Board website going back to, I think, 2002 or 2003. And you can actually go see what the FRQs look like from a question point of view, from a rubric point of view, where you can actually see the scoring answer sheets and even samples of like, this is a 1 because of this is a 2 because of that. This is a perfect score because of, it hits all these fine points. Okay, so like I said, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email or a remind. But this is kind of what we're going to use on Wednesday to get us ready for kind of learning how to do FRQs. All right, I shall see you later.